And as I went to jokingly spin, I was wearing platforms. My foot went back off the platform, but it went down into one of the uplights, which was hot, right? It was hot. And so my knee-jerk reaction was to grab the wall that was behind us, but it wasn't a real wall. It was a fake wall. It was a styrofoam wall. And I fell backwards through it like the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, no!
And it was right as the show was over. So everybody is leaving and walking by. And so now here's what I say. Girl code. This is where my girls did rally. They swarmed me to be like, we got a man down, right? And so they swarmed me. And so then it gets worse. It actually gets worse. Welcome to Beats Working, winning the game of events, where we share stories and strategies to turn any event or life moment into something unforgettable.
Events are wild, and the people who work in them are some of the most resilient humans on earth. If you know, you know.
So come with us behind the curtain for a look at their most memorable experiences.
As they say, the show must go on, so let's get on with the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Beats Working. Today's guest is a tried and true pro in the fashion and event space. Terri Morgan, owner and director of TCM Models and Talent, a Seattle-based agency that she's led since 1979. Obviously, she started it when she was like 5. With over 35 years of experience producing major fashion shows for the Bellevue Collection and the Seattle Wedding Show and more, she has helped shape the region's fashion scene. And that is how Libby and I came to know her way back in our magazine days. She's a mentor, a stylist, a fierce advocate for talent development. And yes, she's also the proud mom and grandma. Terri's here to pull back the curtain on what it really takes to succeed in an industry where being pretty just isn't enough anymore. Terri, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow. After that introduction, I'm honored to be here.
Yeah.
Who was that you were talking about anyway?
That's you, girl. Well, you know, we have done an episode. We work with a gal named Alexandra Nyman, and she is a clothing designer in New York. And she started a foundation called the Break Free Foundation. And she actually is the only nonprofit that produces shows in conjunction with New York Fashion Week. And what's unique about her show is that all of the designers, everybody that touches the show is in recovery from something. It may be drugs and alcohol. It may be an eating disorder. It may be another mental health challenge, but everybody involved in the show is in recovery from something. And so we had her on the show and I was like, we have to have Terri on. We can't, if we're going to do fashion, which is definitely an event, let's be clear. Fashion is definitely an event, then we have to call Terri. So I'm so glad you could make it today. Yeah.
Thank you.
So what is new in the fashion event world in a post-pandemic world?
Well, you know, it's been interesting because obviously during the pandemic, live fashion went away. I mean, it evaporated. And as you mentioned earlier, one of my clients is the Bellevue Collection. And we've been it'll be our 20th year doing Bellevue Fashion Week this coming September. And the owner of the Bellevue Collection just said, we're not going to miss. We're not do it. And so we actually filmed both the normal shows that we did. It was really, really fun. So I got to really think outside the box on doing this. We created these really cool spaces. And so we recorded the fashion shows and then we streamed them live with live interview before it, the whole bit. And people bought tickets. And again, it was all for charity. And it was really, really, really fun. But, and then the next season, we were still wearing masks. And I had the models on the runway, but I mean, part of watching a fashion show is being able to see the model's face and their expression and their mood and the attitude. And it was like putting a mask on, was just not going to cut it. So I found clear masks.
I remember. I remember.
I did too.
Yeah.
Alysse actually sent it to me and she was like, look at this. This is such a great idea.
I have 2 clear masks. I'm not getting rid of them. I'm keeping them. I will definitely use them again in the future. Hopefully for a Halloween costume and not for real. But yes.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was so
great.
smart. So smart.
Well, it kept the energy of the show going, and it was a great way of still being able to do the fashion show and have a live audience and all that. So but live events are coming back. The major department store, in Seattle is Nordstrom, and they're doing live events. They've been doing some big designer shows for the past few years. I've continued to do the Seattle Wedding Show, the Bevy Collection, that sort of thing. There's a lot of other independent shows that are going on. Working with the Fairmont Hotel, which has been a wonderful collaboration. We did a beautiful downtown show for their 100th anniversary last October, and we're doing a haute tea in, a week from Saturday. So I think this is airing later than that, so it already has happened. But a haute tea, which is kind of a high-end fashion, and it's around sustainable fashion. So there's lots going on. It's, not the big events that we used to have, but in other markets, they certainly have come back a little bit stronger, I think, than what we have in the Northwest with live fashion shows.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm thrilled to see that they're back. I love a fashion show. Well, I love a fashion show that's done right. Let me clarify, because when they're not done right, they're just cringe, right? They're just cringe.
Yeah, no,
but
it's painful.
Yours, everyone that you've ever touched that I have seen has always been, mwah, it's been amazing, whether it's been part of Bellevue, the fall fashion shows, or, you've even done the spring pop-ups inside of Bellevue Collection in the center, kind of like on a Saturday morning. And those were super fun. Yeah, what are you seeing as far as trends for different ages and different body sizes when it comes to the runway shows?
The shows themselves are pretty, for the most part, very inclusive as far as the different body types. But I'll be honest, there's a lot of pushback because a few years ago, there was a lot of, inclusivity as far as, using different size models. And for me, when it comes to pulling and producing a fashion show, I'm not working with the designer collections. I'm working with off the rack. So I can pull any size I want for the most part. And it's really easy to do. But for the designers, like at New York Fashion Week or Paris or Milan or London or whatever, they're working with the collection that the designer has made, which has been, months in advance. And they don't book the models for the show until days before. So it becomes a real problem in trying to create all these different sample sizes when you don't know who you're going to get. And so they've scaled it back in a sense, because it's just the dollars and cents thing where they can't really, it's like, okay, we're going to get Ashley Graham for the show. They can plan that. We'll build this one look because it's going to fit Ashley Graham, which is great, but they can't just, make a size 14 and hope that they find the right model, that's the right look, that's going to fit that one sample. And it's expensive. I mean, the whole reason that models need to be a particular size is just fundamentally about money. Because when they make the samples, the less fabric they have to use, the less it costs them to do it. And then they've got a lineup of all the same kind of clothes. So they're not making the models to fit the clothes. The models are fitting the clothes. They have to fit the clothes. And that's so important when they go on these go-sees and these castings. They have to try the clothes on, and then the designers decide if they like the way the clothes look on them, et cetera. And it's just less expensive for them to do it that way. It's not saying that they're not going to come in other sizes, but it is cost prohibitive, and it's the ways out that they've got to plan it, not knowing what's going to happen. So I see it happening more in, like I said, the ready to wear world.
Sure.
And especially like the kind of things that we do here, because, there's a designer show coming up that Nordstrom is doing, and they're shipping in all the samples. Well, the models are being asked to hold the dates, and then they're doing what is called a fit to confirm. So the day before the show, all the girls that are on hold will go to the store, and they're going to have to try the clothes on, the samples that are being shipped in from New York or wherever. And then the designer himself will be deciding whether they like the way that looks on them. And if they do, then the models confirm the show. If they don't, they're released.
God, that feels like so much pressure for the model to, hold your day, and they just might not like the way something drapes in a specific way. And then, you don't get the job.
Oh, there's so many stories. I mean, models that, went to fitting for Prada, big show kind of thing. And everything was great. And they tell them, at the end of the day, okay, we'll see you tomorrow. And then, you wake up in the morning for your call time and you've got a message from your agent saying, oh, they dropped the look.
Yeah, I mean,
for whatever reason,
anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Yeah, until you actually have that dress or whatever on and hit the runway.
Right.
Anything can happen.
You don't know.
Because at the end of the day, it is about the clothes, right? In fact, they want the models to enhance the outfit, but they don't want them to distract from the outfit, right?
No,
there's a balance there.
Yeah, models are glorified hangers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really truly is. Their job is to wear a garment and try to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a better job than a hanger, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the whole point. I mean, it's about selling clothes. It's about getting people excited to go in and go shopping and feel like, oh my God, I've got to have that. I need that.
How do you think technology has changed your industry? I mean, when we were going to shows back in 2008, sure, a lot of people had their phones out, but not everybody. Now it's just like everybody has their phone out, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's just the participant. That doesn't include all the different things like behind the scenes that technology is playing a part. So how is that? I mean, you've been in the business for a long time. So how have you seen technology shape the industry and shape the events?
Well, we don't have a Rolodex anymore. And we or this big book that had everybody's name in it. You flip through it, or a round table that had clipboards in the middle of it that everybody's bookings were on. Everybody had a chart. So I always say this to people: technology's changed how we do business, but not what the business itself is so much. Mm-hmm. What a model does on the runway varies based on the season and the walk and what the trends are, but the job itself is the same. Mm-hmm. And what she does in front of a camera or for a television commercial, the job itself is the same. What you brought up about the technology, like everybody's got a smartphone, at a show, couple of things. So the nice thing about it is that you can take a picture, you can refer back to your program if there is one. A lot of times there's a QR code that you can look it up on whatever the store's website is, or the production, the show itself is on. You can find it. With Bellevue Collection, we do a shop the show. So everything
I have done. I have shopped many times.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, because the nice thing about it is that you're sitting there enjoying the fashion show. And then the next day or so, you can go online and go, that was the look, and that's where it is. And that's
those
where
shoes. I want that sweater. I want that coat. I want that dress. Like, that is a really cool feature.
Yeah, it's really great.
Ready to wear. Yeah.
But the fact that everybody is posting and it's on Instagram and, or that sort of thing, when social media first came out and we would get like a breakdown for a job and it'd be like, okay, this is for a magazine ad. Oh, and is it okay if we maybe put it on our social media? It's like, oh yeah, fine, go ahead. Now it's like, oh, okay, that costs this much more because so many businesses are doing more social media to promote their companies than they are, sadly, in a magazine.
Is that factoring into model selection? Is how many followers someone has in addition to their height and their weight and their shoe size? Sometimes we don't find it a lot in this market, but I did just get this. You'll find this interesting. We just got a breakdown for, I think it's the Gap, and it's for kids. And they only want you to submit children. And I think the ages were like from 6 to 15 or 18 or something like that had X amount of social media followers.
Oh,
Kids.
Wow.
Kids.
I don't know about that.
Kids. I know. Well, there's a special out right now.
No, I haven't watched it yet,
but
but I've seen the trailer and I'm like, I got to remember that I do want to watch that because it does look like it's got some behind the scenes interesting fact. And my nephew, who is 7, my sister and my brother-in-law, they made a very conscious decision when he was born. No one is allowed to post his pictures on the internet because they want him to have choice in that. And my brother-in-law is in IT and he's got a lot of opinions about facial recognition and all of that. And so they're not saying no forever, but until Bryson is old enough to make his own decisions, they just like nothing. So it's like, I'll post pictures of his feet or his hands or, from the backside, but I've never been able to post a picture with him, which is fine. I think my parents actually struggle with it a little bit more than I do because, they want to show how cute he is. And he is very cute.
Yeah. I think there are several parents that have made those kind of decisions for whatever reason. And, it's their decision to make, obviously.
Do you work with all ages? Like what's for? Yep. And what is it like working with kids?
Kids are great.
Yeah.
It's the parents.
Yeah. That tracks. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really do our best to, well, like I said, we were talking before we started recording. Kids have to be a certain size and they have to be cooperative. And parents have to be available to tote them around. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then understand that, this isn't a huge market for kids.
No.
It's, so it's like, they'll get a job here and there and they're going to have fun and all that. But the parents need to, I don't think it's not as bad with children sometimes because the parents do need to be there. But the whole momager thing can be a little bit much. I mean, and it's obviously too important that the kids themselves want to model. Mm-hmm. It's not a parent that wants the kid to model because that's a nightmare.
That's a
nightmare.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah. And then it's like, a mom that brings in a 13-year-old girl that wants her to model. And you see the girl like,
and she doesn't want to be there. Yeah, awkward.
Be there. And the mom's doing all the talking. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. Come back when she's 15. Mm-hmm. And we'll look at her then. Because she's the one that's going to have to do the job. She has to do the job, not the mom.
And you also have models that I know because I don't know that I've been to every single year of Bellevue Fashion Week, but I've been to more than I haven't, to be clear. And like, you have a lot of models that have been with you for a long time.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Do. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really got to be fun because you've probably seen them go from, being very young to getting married to even maybe having kids. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, you've been through a lot with them.
Yeah. I have actually representing their daughters or sons now.
Oh, wow.
That is wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really fun. And I think last year, so one of my models that had started with me, this is in the early 90s, this founder at Bellevue Square. Her daughter is one of our top girls now, and they were both in the fashion show together.
Oh, that's a cool experience.
Yeah, it's really cool. Both absolutely gorgeous still. And it's great. It's great. We are a bit of a family. I mean, this industry is really, really hard on girls and boys. It's because you feel like you're just being judged all the time and kind of sort of you are.
Yeah.
But your agency should be your safe place. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes we have to say things that are a little harder than we want to. Mm-hmm. But it's also, back in the day when I was modeling and I didn't get a job, I want to know that it was because they wanted somebody with brown eyes, not blue, or that they that I didn't fit the clothing or if there's something I could fix, I would want to know that. If it's something that I can't fix, okay. So sometimes we have to, share hard things and let them know that, they didn't like your attitude or you were too chatty during the fitting or you didn't move well in front of the camera, but it's all part of what your job is. And you have to understand what that is. It's not somebody just being mean. It's like a model shop. I always tell them, like, if you're doing a photo shoot, for instance, there's an art director, there's a creative director, there's a photographer, there's a makeup artist, there's a stylist, there's a hair person, there's the assistants, there's the lighting people. and the designer, and it all gets put together and everything's made. And then the model gets made up and they're put on set and everybody else's job is done. And now it's their turn. And you have to perform. And 9 times out of 10, if something doesn't go right, they're going to blame the model.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that the art director had a bad idea. It's going to be, well, that model didn't come across well. So they're really put on the pressure to have to perform. So as you said in the beginning, it's not enough to just be pretty. You got to know something and you have to be able to perform.
That's a really unique skill set. I'm curious how you took that skill set from professional and applied it in your personal life with your own kids and friends and family. That kind of radical candor, basically.
Well, okay. So I always told my kids that they were guilty until proven innocent.
Yes, I like your style.
Yeah.
Libby all of a sudden is leaning in. She's like, tell me more,
I have 2
Terri.
boys. I'm going to use this. Yes.
Yeah, I did that. And they would both tell you that. And their friends as well. They just, as a parent, you have instincts.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, I wasn't there. My daughter swore that I had like eyes all around her at all times. And all it was just, staying in touch with teachers and getting to know the principals and that sort of thing and other parents, not just being absent. You've got to know who your kids are hanging out with and the parents that probably aren't ever home and are promiscuous in the sense of, okay, well, they're underage. I'd rather have them drinking here than out someplace else. I'm like, oh, no. No.
Not on my watch, people.
No, that doesn't happen. So I'd show up or I'd call her at the last minute, go, you at school? Yeah. This is one time she was going to go get in the car and go off campus for lunch. That was all. But she wasn't supposed to. And the minute I called, she was like, yeah, I'm here. And so then after school, it was like, okay, what was going on? She goes, how did you know? And I go, oh, I can't tell you that.
A mother just knows.
Just know.
Just knew.
Just know. Just know.
Did both of your kids model? Because I'm pretty sure I've seen your son model.
Yeah.
Am I making that up?
Yeah. And my daughter did when she did till she was about 16, 17. She was one of my most difficult models because everything, she always wanted to be in the shows because we were always there as a family. We were always there producing shows and my kid. And then, their babysitters were models and all of that sort of thing. And she always wanted to be in the shows, but things bugged her. Like if an outfit that I had pulled, she didn't like the way it felt on her, or it wasn't the color that she liked. Or it was like, it bugs me. She wouldn't wear it. Well, the clothes had to go out on the runway. So fortunately, my sister and one of my best friends had daughters the same age. So I would always book 2 of them, Blair and one of the other girls, as a backup. So if Blair wouldn't wear it, then Tess or Logan would. And then Blair would get to wear the other. And then when she liked what she wore, she was fantastic. She was absolutely fantastic. She was terrible. It stitches me. I'm like, oh God, okay, whatever.
What I have only been backstage of a fashion show a handful of times. So not very many. I could probably count them all on one hand. And they were chaotic.
No, it's organized chaos.
Yeah, they were like, woof. I mean, there's a lot going on and you may or may not even have very much space.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. No.
And you just have to not care about changing and doing like, yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody's having a cup of tea between changes. No. Yeah, the backstage at a fashion show is crazy and hectic and fun and exhilarating, and everything is moving fast. I mean, they're changing clothes from head to toe and getting ready and lined up, and then remembering some kind of crazy choreography I gave them.
So when they go out and like hit the runway, what? As a consumer, we just get to see this beautifully executed design show, just graceful walking, beautiful clothes. But what are you looking for backstage that we would never see? Like, we're just looking to see some, like, a beautiful show, but what are you looking for when you watch models walk out during a show?
Well, so the whole thing for me with a fashion show, it's like a symphony. Everything is kind of comes together to make the whole show. So obviously the clothing is the most important part. So the planning for the fashion show starts with what I predict as the trends for the season, or depending on what it is, if we're doing different stores or designers or whatever, planning that part of it out. So it starts with the clothing and how that's going to look. And then with like Bellevue Collection, we do a trend show, which is all different kinds of stores that have that kind of trend going. And then we have another show that's a collective show, and it's curated by store. So say 10 looks, it's all from that same store. Try to feel that the clothing needs to relate within that scene. And then coming up with the music and the media, the background,
which I love.
That inspires.
That's part of my favorite part. I love that part.
It's so fun.
Much.
I told somebody the other day, it's like going to a rock concert. It's not like
so
totally.
Yeah, so fun. So the clothing. So like, for instance, I'll just say we've got a menswear scene. Okay. That means, women's menswear, oversized menswear scene. Okay. What does that say in my head? It says maybe city, maybe a city kind of a feel. And in case they've got a city feel. And so then the beat for the music has got to feel a little more industrial, a little bit heavier. It's not going to be light and floaty. It's not going to be like a garden floral kind of a scene. It's going to have a hard beat to it. It's going to have a real strong dynamic and feel mannish in that way. And so we figure that all out, and then coming up with some choreography that then makes sense. So it's like if you've got two models that are shoulder to shoulder and they've got this real strong walk as they come down the runway. What I'm trying to say to you is this is menswear. This is how menswear feels. This is what it needs to look like. And then the next scene, when you see the floral dresses and the garden thing in the background, and we've got kind of music going, you're going to feel that as that goes on. So all of that comes together. I start doing music and media about 3 weeks prior to the show. And then we pull this clothing the week of the show, because it's all stuff that's in store. And then we do a fitting, and then we do a tech rehearsal where I go in and with the team at the board, we refine everything that you look on stage. And then we do a runway rehearsal the day of the show. So if the show's an 8:00 show, the models generally show up at 2:00. We rehearse for 3 hours with the music and the media. I come up with the choreography, the scenes, how it all flows. And then they go back to hair and makeup. We've got the dressing room all set up, the dressing room and ready for the models when they're done with hair and makeup. We've got professional dressers. And then they get into their first looks. I'm out front. I've got people in headsets. I've got a stylist that's making sure that everything looks the way that we wanted it to as it hits the runway. And then we do the show. So what I look for backstage is, honestly, as chaotic as it maybe looks, the calmer everybody is back there, the faster it goes for them. A model that's throwing clothes and not, concentrating is taking up way more time than if they just simply take their jacket off and put on another one and zip up the sweater and goes out the door and slips on their shoes.
That's amazing. You do the choreography just a few hours before the show.
Well, I figure I have an idea in my head as to what I want it to do.
Yeah.
And how I picture the models coming out with the media and the music and everything. And then getting the clothing and seeing, okay, what's going to look good? Who's going to look good out on the runway together? I line up the clothes and then fit the models. And so then I can think, okay, well, this is a nice threesome. We did, was it last fall? It's always fun, like especially with the Bellevue collection, because we've got such, it's a beautiful production, just
Beautiful
overall.
production,
It's insane.
Yeah. It's great.
I don't think there's another mall that does anything even close
not
to what
even
they
close.
do.
No,
and there's
not in
no
this
place.
region.
Not a bad
not in this
seat in
region.
that
No,
room.
I don't even think in the States. I've looked. I've looked.
No.
I haven't seen anything. So it's pretty spectacular.
I agree.
Anyway, it's like that moment last year. There were 3 girls in this. It was kind of a French interior kind of a scene, and the clothing in the scene was all vintage wallpaper prints and that sort of thing, and kind of a boho. And I had 3 girls come down the runway together. That picture was like everybody posted that. Everybody posted
that was the
it.
shot. Yeah.
So those are the moments.
So Terri, where doing all of this is it's tapping into a huge part of your creative side, which gets me very excited. And I would love to know, where do you go for inspiration and to watch trends and know what's coming? But you also do an amazing job at keeping it connected to the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I have in the past traveled to fashion weeks and seen shows. I spent a lot of time watching, we're so lucky now that everything is online. So I spend a lot of time watching fashion shows and seeing, what's being done and that sort of thing. I think there's little animals in my head that are going around crazy. But I see, it's like, when I was saying that about the suiting in my head, I am just picturing that's like where that would be. And then I see maybe like a subway going by, or if it's like a few years ago, we had like a British inspired thing. And we came up with this fun idea of doing like a old school black and white little video. And I've got a 68 MGB GT, which is a old British car. And so we did a fun thing with the models, driving in the car, and I'd opened the scene, and then they came out onto the runway. I honestly,
it's just
know.
in you. It's just in you.
I like to watch. I like to watch like musicals. I like to see things that, big production type things. And then you pick a little bit of that out. And like with bridal shows, kind of like I've done things with, like we did an old historic mansion type thing and kind of felt like Camelot. So, had somebody sing, and I don't know.
You're a visual storyteller. Like you just are. Like I've been to so many shows that you've been connected to. And like, that's what I'm there for. Yes, I'm there for the clothes. Of course I'm there for the clothes, but I'm there for the story. I'm there to be entertained and get wrapped up and try to picture myself in any of the looks, right?
Yeah.
One of the favorite shows we worked on with you for many years, this is back in the day, was the Independent Designer Runway show. Which was like the first show that would kick off Bellevue Fashion Week. It happened for many years. Laura Cassidy would help work with local designers. I loved that show. I loved that show because it was just a little different than the other shows. And that was very early on in the Project Runway days when that was, I know that a version of that show is still around, but very early on. And so that was so fun. That was always one of my favorites to work on.
Yeah, I love that show. We all love that show. But what happened is there were not the big designer schools that were, the Art Institute closed down, and there was somebody else. But we are bringing back, we are doing a mentoring program with 4 different universities, WSU, Central, I think Seattle Central, and SPU. And we have 2 designers from each of those schools that are going to be producing 2 looks that we will have in Bellevue Collection in the collective show in September.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's fun.
Okay,
We met with them, and they're darling. They've got some fun ideas. And they really, the whole idea around the independent designer show that Bellevue Collection came up with was helping to mentor these designers in the hopes that one day, they can come back and they'll have a shop at Bellevue Square. And, some of them have gone on to do well. And it's been really fun to, watch them grow. But without the big art presence or the Art Institute presence in the market, it became a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've clocked a lot of miles at Bellevue Collection, like on your feet, a lot of miles.
God.
I have to know, and don't say where it is. I mean, you could tell me later offline, but I know that I have a favorite place to park there that I think is like, I'm pretty much like always know I'm going to get a spot. Like I feel pretty confident about it. So I have a pattern. Like when I go to Bellevue Collection, I have a routine and I'm just curious. I'm assuming you have one because you have to go to all the different shops and pull looks and all of that. Do you have a secret parking spot?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't have just one.
Aha!
Because so if I'm going for a meeting in the management office, I have a spot.
Yep.
But if I'm, you'll love this. So every season that we do Bellevue Fashion Week, they have to find a place for me to work.
Oh, sure.
Because I'm pulling.
You're there.
30 racks of clothing.
Yeah, you're there.
And I have 30 racks of clothing, 20 to 30 racks, depending. Okay. And so I need a space to work. You guys, I can't even begin to tell you all the different spaces I've had to work out of. So when I park, it generally has to be like, okay, the closest to where I'm going because I'm toting and hauling stuff out of my car and all of our accessory things that we bring along and shoes and such. So I kind of move around in the mall. But one year, the mall was completely full. Well, there were several years it was completely full. I don't know if you even know this. There's a basement at Bellevue Square.
Oh no!
What? Yeah,
wait.
There's a basement.
Well, there has to be because there's the Macy's has that downstairs. Yeah, there has to be.
Yeah,
there has to be.
Yeah, so there's a basement, and I was working out of one of the. They're chicken wire.
So very glamorous
doors.
is what you're saying.
It's a very glamorous lifestyle. Yes.
Oh no, but it got even worse than that. Another year, we didn't even have a space in the basement to work in, so they rented a construction trailer.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, and we called it the model home.
That's
construction trailer, and
that must have been crammed with that many racks of clothing. How'd you even get in that thing?
Well, okay, so what they ended up doing, they had to build a wooden ramp because they just have ladders, and we had to roll racks in.
Yeah,
and then we had to do all the fittings inside this. So we had
was it climate controlled? Did it have air?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it did. But we found a spot. So when we actually had to have models in it to do fittings, we found a spot in a back hallway that we got draped off so that we could roll the racks out and put them in there. But then every night, we couldn't leave it there. Every night we had to roll all the racks back into the trailer before we could leave.
There is nothing glamorous about events.
Nothing. No.
Okay, now I have to know. I have so many questions. This is like, we'll probably have to have you back because I just have way too many questions. But do you have like a preferred type of rack or a preferred brand of rack?
Oh, I like the salesman racks, the little metal salesman racks that just fold down and tote and haul.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I have a few racks myself. being a curator, but so I'm always just on the hunt to, for new tricks when it comes to storage.
Well, they're really heavy duty.
Yeah. You need a heavy duty because clothes, depending on what coats, it can be heavy and you don't want them, you don't want stuff to drape and get,
they can't be flimsy. We've broken a few racks in our day.
Alysse, where's your parking spot? Where do you park when you go?
I don't we have too many listeners, Libby. I can't be leaking that information out, but I will tell you offline. This is something we always ask people because we love to know what's in your bag, what's in your fanny pack, do you use a clipboard, those kinds of things. So when you're on event day and it's the day of, it's going to be a long day. Like, what do you do to prepare? What do you have with you for you? And what do you do the day after all the events are over for yourself? There's a 2-part question.
Okay. Well, I'm terrible about planning for me. I'm terrible.
Terri.
Yeah, I know. I plan, like if it's show day, I always really plan my outfit. Okay. Yep. And so I got that. I'd bring that. Usually have to have my daughter and my bestie, Debbie, that always works with me. They end up making me eat and drink and that sort of thing because I am just go, 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 go. My son calls me a camel. I get in show mode and I'm just going constantly. I always have to have a couple of pens and everything. So and my yellow legal pad.
Oh, taking it old school.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You may not have a Rolodex anymore, but you still have your legal pad.
The yellow legal pad. Mm-hmm. I've been writing show lineups for the models. So I write up something that has like the scene, the models' names, and then what they're doing and that sort of thing. And you're going to make copies of it for all of them. They've all got paper copies so they can write on it. And their copies are all white, but mine's yellow. Mm-hmm. So I always know. And by the time a show's over with, they actually look like tissue paper that I've held them so much and it's like barely anything there. But yeah, that's my go-to. The day after the shows is spent all day putting things back to the stores. And honestly, I mean, I love the productions and I mean, it's the best. I can't wait for this year. But the sense of accomplishment when you've got 30 racks full of clothing, shoes and accessories from every single store in the mall, and you get it all back to them in perfect condition, not missing an item, and they can put it right back on the rack to sell is so good.
You have a system then. There's no way you can pull that all off without a system.
Yeah, we got a system.
Yeah.
We got a system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah.
That's my fun.
I bet that feels so good though. You deliver your last rack and you're like, I'm out of my chicken wire office. Yeah. Now I can just there are obviously going to be other things you still have to do to wrap up a show and all the things that go with it and the paperwork and, billing and all of those very exciting things. But that physical component being done with that must feel really good.
Yeah, it is. It's really great. I've got a great team that helps me do it all. And it's just like clockwork. And sometimes we'll go and get a pedicure.
Sure.
Drink a glass of champagne and have a pedicure.
Is there a standout show in your history of shows that you're like, this was the iconic one? Do you have any standouts? I know they're all good. So it's okay if you don't.
I have so many that I love for all different kind of reasons. Before we had all the LED screens and all that, it was one of the first Fashion Week shows that we did. I don't know if you remember, Alysse, when we were across the street and it had the lower level and sometimes we had a band that played and then you went upstairs and all that. Mm-hmm. And we did this scene with a scrim and the song was Fashionista. Everybody line up. The show's about to start. It was RuPaul. Mm. And I had this idea about, the thought of people. Do you remember seeing Isaac Mizrahi unzipped?
Yes.
Okay. So you remember how you could see the models behind the scrim getting ready for the show? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we didn't have the models dressing backstage, but I had one of the models, a man, come out with headphones on, like he was, cueing the show, and he's lip syncing to everybody line up, the show's about to start. And then a model came out and a stylist came out and they're all behind this scrim with the light on them. And they're starting to, just adjusting and we get like, it's kind of that behind the scenes kind of look. And then it goes to black and then the lights just went crazy. And the coolest thing was before the models even came out on the runway, the audience applaud.
That's cool. That's really
cool. It was like,
that's
and
cool.
Somebody had given me some pushback on doing that. And it was like,
I showed you.
Yeah, that was neat. Before we even got a model on the runway, they were applauding. So it's that kind of like, wow, this is cool.
I have two, besides the independent designer runway show, which will always be standouts for me. I have two very strong references of Bellevue Fashion Week. One, I believe it was the 10-year anniversary, I think. And they used a local artist from Mercer Island. Her name is Blair. Her married name now is Williams, but I think her maiden name was Brittenstein, or I'm butchering it. Yeah, Brittenstein.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. And she did these really cool fashion illustrations. And she's now gone on. She lives in New York. She's done it for all kinds of amazing designers. And I have purchased multiple pieces of artwork from her because I fell in love with her at that show. And she was there because they were doing they had little postcards and the swag bags. And she did all the artwork that year. And I was completely obsessed with her. And Nina Feldman went to high school with her, Libby.
And I remember because we had so much of it around your office, and you still have it in your house.
I have many of her pieces. So that was one. I also still have, I think I still have the swag bag from that year as well, maybe. I definitely have several swag bags over the years, not all of them, but several. And then my second core memory is, it's very embarrassing. I don't even know if you may know this story, Terri. You may not. It was very embarrassing. I want to say it was 2017 or 2018. It was one of those 2 years. And there was the step and repeat photo booth experience, somewhere between the entrance at the Hyatt, somewhere in there somewhere. And this particular year, you had to step up on this riser, and there were backlights, and they had a 3-dimensional backdrop.
I think it was 2015 or 16, maybe even.
Might have been 16. Might have been 16. It might have been 16.
Before I had a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. It might have been 16. You're right. It was probably 16. It was multi-dimensional. There were beads, there were uplights, there was all kinds of things. And the show was over. I was we were leaving the show. I was very eager to get across the street to Joey's for food. I was very hungry. I was hangry even. And I was with a group of gals, and there's always that one girl that just can't get enough photo ops, And after working at the magazine for so many years and doing so many photo booths and stuff, I don't need it anymore. Right? I don't need it anymore. But I'm also I don't want to be the Debbie Downer of the group. And so anyway, there were 5 of us, and the photographer that was working it had worked for us, the magazine, many, many, many times. So I knew him very well. He knew I was particular. I have a particular side that I liked to capture. And there were 5 of us, and we were squeezing onto this platform that was not for 5 people, to be clear. I was in the center, and he was trying to get the best shot and kept telling me to turn. And I'm hangry, right? And so I was like, Pavel, do you just want me to just spin around? And as I went to jokingly spin, I was wearing platforms. My foot went back off the platform, but it went down into one of the uplights, which was hot, right? It was hot. And so my knee-jerk reaction was to grab the wall that was behind us, but it wasn't a real wall. It was a fake wall. It was a styrofoam wall. And I fell backwards through it like the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, no.
And it was right as the show was over. So everybody is leaving and walking by. And so now here's what I say. Girl code. This is where my girls did rally. They swarmed me to be we got a man down, right? And so they swarmed me, and so then it gets worse. It actually gets worse. So Pavel comes to help me get up. And somehow in the commotion of them covering us and him coming up to help me, my hair gets stuck in the zipper of his pants.
No!
It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm just and he's and somebody's does anyone have scissors? Does anyone have scissors? And I'm just rip it out, just
rip the hair off my head. Get me out of here. No. Get me to Joey.
No. And then, so I get up, we brush off. There are definitely people looking. I am 18 shades of purple. And then Pavel, God bless him, he's I think I can still get the shot if you guys want to try again. And I'm just I'm out. I'm out.
So make it work. Oh my God,
Bless him.
Is hilarious. Well, now I know why we don't have platforms.
Yep, I am definitely the reason. Because
you're the reason.
Krista definitely knew that happened.
Oh God, I can't wait to tell Krista this.
Yes, that is definitely probably the reason why you guys no longer have platforms.
Oh no. Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I have a dear friend that's like, Alysse, your life could be a sitcom. And I'm like, you're not wrong. Yeah, not wrong.
Never mind. We'll have to talk off camera where it's how you got your hair caught in a zipper.
I don't even know how that happened. Like, that is like, it was so embarrassing. And thank goodness I knew him. If it had been a stranger, I feel like that would have been worse. But this is a guy I had worked with for years. So
yeah.
And nobody got hurt other than the backdrop, right? I wasn't hurt, like nothing, nothing got broken. I mean, other than the backdrop, but so embarrassing.
Memory.
So embarrassing.
What a memory.
Highlights. You're a highlight reel.
So events are glamorous. They are glamorous, except when they're not.
Right.
Well, Libby, do you have any final questions for Terri today before we?
I don't. I feel like we could ask
you.
We could have a part 2 and a 3 and a 4 because I know you have so many good stories that we would love to hear.
I'm here.
Good.
Well, it's been a really. I never intend. I wanted to be a fashion designer. I made all my own clothes when I was growing up, and wanted to get into fashion design. And then, being tall and thin and flat chested, somebody said you should be a model, and I'm like, okay. So tried that, and then obviously it's morphed into all of this, and the creative, the fun part about having the agency and working with new models and actors is, one side of things that's so special and so fun. And then to get to show my creative side with fashion show production has been just a gift. I mean, at one time I produced almost 70 shows a year here.
Well, and
that's wild.
You are an iconic businesswoman. You're not just creative. You're not just stylish. You're not just tall, right? You run a very classy, very professional business. And like, I've never heard a negative word spoken about you ever.
That's nice.
You're top notch to work with. Like, I knew if you were involved, it was going to be a top notch event. Like, I was like, I'm in. If Terri's in, I'm definitely in.
Oh, thank you, Alysse. That means a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely have a legacy, Terri. So thank you so much for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. Today's my 46th anniversary of owning this business.
Happy
46. Thank you. Yeah.
Is this the first podcast you've ever been on?
No, I've done a couple others.
You've done a couple? All right. So we didn't cop your podcast cherry, but we did get you on your anniversary.
This has been really fun.
Good. This is the most fun one you've been on. Yes. So Terri, before Alysse wraps us up, how can our listeners find you? How can they find out what you're up to and maybe learn a little bit more about your wonderful biz?
Oh, thank you. So our website is tcmmodels.com, and same with Instagram, tcmmodels.com. And my personal is Terri610, Terri 610.
All right. I'm going to friend you right now. I'm going to follow you.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Beats Working. If you have an idea or you want to reach out, please email us at info@beatsworking.show. Remember, every detail matters, every moment counts, and no matter what, the show must go on. Thanks for listening to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events, where we explore what it takes to make moments unforgettable.
If you're leaving with a little more inspiration, a little more perspective, and a big side ache from all of the laughing at our funny jokes, then we've done our job.
Beats Working is a Work P2P production. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platforms.
Your support helps us keep the magic going.